So a few days ago, I'm at Belmont, and right next to me is a guy who I don't think he's going to do anything wrong. He just looks like, your average kind of seedy guy in the red line. 2 seconds after I thought that, this man starts taking a full-on shit on the platform. It's when seasoned red line riders see this that they're like, ugh, man, the red line really needs to get better. But it's when people who have never really taken the train or take it very infrequently that they think, holy shit, I'm never doing this again. And there's a really big problem with that, because if there's one thing that a transit line needs to survive, it's riders. And if people are constantly disencouraged from taking a transit line because they constantly feel unsafe, or it's unclean, or it's unreliable, that's a huge problem, and the CTA needs to fix it. So let's get into the issues and see what the CTA has actually done to try to alleviate some of these problems. So some of the biggest issues that I experience on the red line is cleanliness. In terms of schedule, it usually is always sticking to its every 8-minute interval on the weekdays. On rush hour, that can be a little annoying because trains will get packed. And every 8 minutes during rush hour, I don't think is what the CTA should strive for its highest ridership line. But, it's the best we're going to get at this stage in the CTA's existence. But going back to cleanliness, it's just dirty. It's way too dirty, and especially if you are a new rider of the CTA, and especially the red line, you'll know that it's often disgusting. I don't think there has been a time in recent years where I've taken the red line and I haven't smelled urine or weed or cigarette smoke, and for me that's a deal breaker when I have to take long red line trips. It's just unpleasant, and it makes the ride worse. There's also trash everywhere, and, there will always be something on the seats. A seat will be wet, or covered in weed, or covered in some sort of garbage, cups, lots of food waste. So what is the CTA doing to fix this? Well, of course, it's illegal to smoke and drink and eat on CTA property, but that doesn't stop anyone, and the issue with it is that it's not enforced. The consequences for people doing these things are essentially none. And if that continues, then there's not going to be any change to the cleanliness of the train. I will give the CTA some credit that during the spring of this year, they have tried to clean a lot of train cars and buses and stations, but it really just isn't enough. People disgrace CTA property like it is their favorite pastime, and, you will always see something off. There will never be a spick and span station, at least not that I've really ever seen. So it's a gamble on whether you're going to get a clean or unclean experience with the CTA. Apart from the cleanliness on the red line, another one of the huge issues that you'll hear about all the time if you check the news is crime. Crime plagues the entire CTA network. Buses, trains, and stations. People get stabbed, people get shot, people get robbed, maybe all three of them. It is a bad situation that we're in here. But what is the CTA doing about it? Because that is one of the biggest things that keeps people away from taking public transit, not just on the red line, not just in Chicago, but all over the U.S. One way that the CTA has tried to alleviate some of these problems is in recent years they signed a private security contract for $71 million to have unarmed security guards in subway stations and throughout the trains to try to help solve the crime problem. So how did that help? Well, it didn't. Riders have seen firsthand just how little this security group has done. Whenever I've seen them, they have been leaning over the railing at the transfer to the Blue Line at Jackson, and they have literally just been filing their nails or scratching lottery tickets or just talking, playing music, smoking. They really don't care. They just see it as a job, and they're not even doing the job well, and we've spent $71 million on this. It was a colossal failure. Thankfully, the contract is up in the coming weeks, I believe, if not already, and in fact, I think the contract is up. So let's circle back and see what we could actually do to improve the red line. Unfortunately, I think one of the most useful things will be to increase policing on the train and in the stations. And that's coming from someone who's very much not a fan of the police, but we have to use the resources we have in a way that is actively discouraging it. If people know something is illegal and they do it but don't have anyone stopping them, then people are going to keep doing it and it's not going to end. So you need constant enforcement of these rules, and unfortunately, yeah, that does mean the police, because we've seen what private security has done. I think the same goes for cleanliness. You know, as much as the CTA will clean their vehicles and their stations, there needs to be an enforcement that, hey, if you leave a big pile of shit on the seat next to you, you know, you're gonna face the consequences of that. Of course, the police are not the only way to enforce these things. I think it's also up to us as riders to be upstanders, not bystanders. There have been times where I saw someone nearly bludgeoned to death, and because I'm a small guy, I did not intervene. But if I could, I would have, and honestly, there were several people that should have. You know, a lot of this is the fact that people are disenfranchised, people have very little options for anything in terms of employment, housing, so of course you'll see people sleeping on the red line, you'll see people selling on the red line, you will see a lot of things on the red line, and that's why I think it's important that we realize this is ours. This is a collective resource that we all share as Chicagoans. We need to treat it that way. So by everyone, you know, doing their part, cleaning up after themselves, not taking up a bunch of room, not smoking, not drinking, not eating, it's a great way to make the red line a whole lot better for everyone. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you thought that this was going to be an L slander video, I apologize, but that plan kind of fell on the back burner. In the meme template that we were going to use, yeah, there's already plenty of L slander videos. I did not need to make my own that is basically saying the exact same things. So if you're upset about that, I'm very sorry, but this was next on the list. So I hope you'd enjoyed it. Please like this video. Please subscribe. I've never said that on this channel, but do it because we have like 99% people who aren't subscribed who are watching. So do me a favor. It's real quick. I'll see you guys next time for a very interesting video about track gauges and what they say about your zodiac sign.